can't. I need my thing. I swear I am not prepared. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today it's BookList Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsey over at Lindsey's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you a fun list or something that we want to talk about for the week. And this week we are doing our 5-star follow-up, our 5-star prediction follow-up. So 3 months ago, we picked 5 books that are on our Kindles, and we picked 5 of them that we think that we are going to give 5 stars to, and we took these past 3 months and we read those books, and we are going to tell you what we thought today. Now, we actually worked with somebody this time. We worked with Krista from Books and Jams. She did it along with us as well. And I will leave both of Lindsey and Krista's channels linked down below. If you guys have not checked them out yet, make sure you definitely do and see what they thought about the books that they picked on their own Kindles to see what they thought about those books that they thought they were going to give 5 stars. So we are very excited to be working with some people this year on this project. So it's been a lot of fun. So let's talk about this because it was interesting. The first book that I had on my Kindle that I predicted I was going to get 5 stars to was Regretting You by Colleen Hoover, because it's Colleen Hoover. And I have given every one of her books that I have personally read so far 5 stars. I have not read all of her books yet. I still have a few I need to read, but every one of them has been 5 stars so far, including this one. It was a 5-star read, you guys. I was a little bit nervous at first because when I was starting to read it, I wasn't quite sure. It took me a little bit to get into it and to really start caring about the characters. But once I did, I was hooked, and then I couldn't put it down after that. So I didn't read through it as quickly as I've read through some of her other books. It took me a little bit more time, and this book focuses more on a mother-daughter relationship. There is also a couple romances happening in here, which is what Colleen is really known for, but it wasn't the main relationship focus in the story. It was between this mother and this daughter. So that was a little bit different, but I still really enjoyed it. And I did really like the romances in here as well. I loved both of those. So yep, it definitely ended up 5 stars. I couldn't put it down after a while. And just some of the things that happened in here made me swoon. The next one I had was Our House by Louise Candlish. And this is kind of a mystery. I wouldn't call it a thriller. It was a mystery. And this follows a man and a woman who are separated. And the woman goes to their house one day to collect something that she needs. And then she finds that someone's moving into her house. Like, this is her house. And someone's moving in there, and they said, "We just bought this house. I'm not sure what you're talking about. We have all the paperwork. We signed all the things. We've, toured it, and we just bought this house, and today's the day we're moving in." And her house is completely cleaned out. None of her stuff is there anymore. And these new people are moving in, and she has no idea what's happening. She cannot contact her ex-husband, or, well, they're not divorced yet. They're separated. So she can't contact him. She can't get a hold of him. She does not know where her children are. It's a whole thing. And so you follow along with what is happening and what happened to lead up to this event. And it was good. It was definitely twisty, and you're getting her husband's perspective, but they're in kind of more journal entries than anything. It's stuff that he has, it's almost like a confession thing that he typed out on his computer. And that's where you're getting his story from. There's also a podcast element to this, which was interesting. There was a podcast that was following this whole situation and this whole case because it became something newsworthy, and the news reports were actually reporting on it. And so, yeah, there was almost 3 different ways of telling the story. So you get her perspective, like a real novel type perspective, and then you get the podcast, and then you get the husband's journal entries. So it was definitely something that kept you interested the whole time, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't something that really blew my mind, but it was enjoyable enough. I liked it. The next one I picked was Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Kane, and this is actually the first book in a thriller series, and I have been wanting to read this for a very long time. I've heard really, really good things about it. A lot of people have said that I would really like it, and they were right, and I gave it 5 stars. It took me almost 3 weeks to read this book, though. The reason for that is because this was kind of starting with all the changes that are happening right now. And so a lot of that was kind of distracting me, and I took almost a week off of reading almost completely. And so I was distracted by other things versus, being really fully immersed into this book. So the first half of it took me a couple weeks to read, but then the second half, I couldn't put it down. I think I read it in 2 or 3 days. So once my mindset was in a better place to concentrate on my books, this is what I picked up, and I could not stop. So I actually did end up giving this one 5 stars, because even though it took me a little bit to read the first half, it was still really good. So when I thought about it as a whole, I was trying not to let outside influences affect my book rating, because as the book as a whole is really so good. This follows a woman who is married. She has 2 children. Everyone's very happy, normal life, all good things. And then she arrives home one day with her children, and her house is surrounded by police officers. And she finds out that her husband is a serial killer, and he abducts and tortures women and kills them in her garage. And she had no idea that all this was happening under her nose. Because of this event, she has to take her children, and she has to move and kind of be on the run and be undercover and different identities, because she's getting a lot of harassment from the public. So that is what is happening here. She moves to a place in Tennessee called Stillhouse Lake, and they are there. They're kind of starting to finally set down some roots and be comfortable somewhere, thinking like, maybe I can actually be here and be happy. And some bodies turn up in the lake in the same veins of her husband's murders. So everything gets blown up again. Oh my gosh, was it good? And the ending, yeah, I was totally sucked in at the end. Like from 50% on, I could not put it down. And I'm going to move on to number 2 right away. Like tonight, I'm going to start that. Really, really, truly. I'm very excited to continue on with this series. So yes, I absolutely loved it. Total 5 stars. It's very graphic, and it's not necessarily Karen Slaughter level, but similar. Like there's things that are described very graphically as far as violence goes. So keep that in mind. It's not, like I said, if you can handle Karen Slaughter, you can definitely handle this, but it is a little bit more on the graphic side than something a little more tame. So yeah, but loved it. The next one I picked was another beginning of a series, and that is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. This one was an experience. I've talked about it before, but okay. I downloaded this onto my Kindle a while ago, and it was something I got online for free. This one was different because I was reading it and I was thinking, this is really long. I'm pretty sure the print version of this is only, a little over 300 pages, but I'm still reading and I really should be done with this by now. So I got a little concerned about that, and I was getting, different perspectives throughout the book, and I had never heard that before. So I was really confused about what I was reading and whether or not I downloaded the correct thing. So I did some more research into it and found out that I wasn't reading the correct thing. When Beautiful Bastard was originally published, it was only online. It was an online thing. They were writing it continuously. They would add things here and there. So it was something that was added to over time. So it was like a big thing, online only. It was never published. When it got picked up for publishing, they took what they had written online and they condensed it and they changed some things. So they went through a whole big editing process in order to actually get it publicated. That's not a word, to get it published and sold like as a book. I didn't know that. So I actually ended up going out and buying the first book so that I could actually, I could read it and I could read what was intended for it to be published. It was cheaper to buy the paperback than it was to download the ebook. So I just went and bought the paperback and I read it. And it was different. It was definitely different. There were some characters' names that were changed. There were scenes that ended differently from what I had read originally, and it kind of changed the tone of the story a little bit. A lot of it was basically the same, but there was just a lot more detail, obviously, in what I had read before, and scenes were drawn out a lot longer because it had to be condensed to make it a little bit shorter for publication. So it was definitely an experience, but I did go through and I read from the beginning. I was able to skim over a couple scenes because they were the exact same. So it went a little bit faster for me when I was reading it in paperback form. But that was interesting, and I was kind of irritated at the whole thing because I just wish I had known that going in. I wish I had. So it was an experience. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I would have given it that anyway. Like, the experience didn't affect my rating because it was fun. It was a good read. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like the best thing ever. So I did give it 4 stars because, I mean, I read through it quickly. It was entertaining. I liked the story, but the characters irritated me every so often in certain situations and stuff like that. So yeah, so 4 stars. And the last one is Bright Side by Kim Holden. And I DNF'd this, you guys. I thought this was going to be a 5-star because every single person who has recommended this book to me, or every single person that has talked about this book, has said it's amazing. And they sobbed through the whole thing and they can't stop thinking about this book and it's so great and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. And I bought it on Kindle because I'd heard such great things. And I think I got it when it was $1.99 or something. And I DNF'd it, guys. I got 40% through it. So I gave it a good solid, like, I got almost halfway through this book and I could not do it. I did not care about these characters. The amount of times that the main character says the word dude, I was ready to throw it across the room. She's from California. But oh my gosh, I swear the word dude was 3 times on every single page. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really annoying. I couldn't handle it. I literally couldn't handle it. I was reading a scene where she was in a car, she was driving, and she was reaching for her cell phone for something. I think she was going to make a phone call or something while she was driving. And I actually found myself thinking, ooh, maybe I should get into a car accident and make this a little bit more interesting. Like, something bad needs to happen. And nothing bad was happening. I'm sure something bad does happen eventually in the book because everyone says that they cried through the whole thing. But I wasn't getting there and I didn't care. I stopped caring at 40% in. And like, when I'm wishing ill or wishing bodily harm on the main characters just so that something interesting will happen, it's probably time for me to put it down. So I did not finish it. I don't care what happens. I'm not going to go back and read it. I don't care. Yeah. And that was a big surprise. It was a big surprise that I DNF'd that book because I don't know. I was not feeling it at all. I did not like any of the characters. Like, I don't even remember their names and I'm fine with that. So yeah. Okay. Okay, guys, that is it for me. Those were my thoughts on the books that I picked as 5-star predictions. So 4 and 5s and then 1 DNF. Well, it's going to happen, I guess, right? So make sure you go check out Lindsey and Krista and see what their thoughts were on the books that they chose as 5-star predictions. I'm really excited to see what those are. And we will be back next week with another round and another guest. And I'm really excited about it. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.